Welcome to the Fame Files, episode 47. This week, a story that's really kind of hit us hard. A young chef, part of Rick Stein's team down in Cornwall, has passed away. And it really makes you think about, people behind these huge culinary empires.
Yeah, it is a stark reminder, isn't it, that there's a whole world behind the polished facade of celebrity chefdom. You see the cookbooks, the TV shows, the beautiful restaurants, but we often forget about the individuals working tirelessly to make it all happen.
It's true. It's so easy to just get swept up in all that glamour.
Yeah.
So let's sort of break down what we did. This chef, he was in his 30s, and he was found at the staff housing in Padstow on February 13th. And he was working at the Cornish Arms. I think that's a pub that Rick Stein and his ex-wife Jill acquired back in 2009. From what I've read, they were very committed to, keeping that traditional feel.
Yeah, that's right. And this is just one part of a much bigger operation. The Rick Stein Group, they employ over 600 people, restaurants, a cookery school, shops, even accommodations, mostly centered around Padstow, actually.
Wow, 600 people.
Yeah.
That's a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
And it really kind of puts into perspective the scale of these culinary empires.
Absolutely. We're talking about a global brand. Stein, started with this love for Cornwall, and that grew into restaurants in the UK, Australia, and beyond, best-selling cookbooks, countless TV shows. He's reached a level of fame that most chefs can only dream of.
He really has built an incredible career. I remember reading something last year about his reflections on mortality after he had that heart operation. And he was talking about his age and accepting life's limitations, but at the same time, this real enjoyment of life. And it really stuck with me because it just shows that even someone like Rick Stein, at the top of his game, he's still grappling with those very human experiences.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that fame and success don't make you immune to the realities of life. And it comes back to what we were saying before about the human side of these industries. While we celebrate the achievements of people like Rick Stein, we should also acknowledge the unseen efforts of the many people who contribute to their success.
It makes you wonder what kind of pressures exist behind the scenes, especially in such a demanding field like the culinary world. We all love going out to eat, enjoying a beautiful meal, but we rarely stop to consider the hard work and dedication that goes into creating that experience.
That's where it gets really interesting. Let's dive into some of the common challenges that chefs and restaurant staff often face.
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is the long hours, right? It's not uncommon for chefs and kitchen staff to be working, 12-hour shifts, sometimes even longer, especially during those peak times.
Yeah, that's not exactly a 9 to 5. I imagine that must take a toll on, your personal life relationships, even your health.
Absolutely. And the work itself is incredibly physically demanding. You're on your feet most of the day. You're dealing with heat-sharp knives, heavy equipment. There's this constant pressure to perform at a high level, to be fast, efficient, creative, all while maintaining consistency.
Yeah, you're right. It's like a performance every day with an audience that expects perfection. It must be incredibly stressful. It is. And that stress can manifest in different ways. There's the pressure to meet the head chef's standards, the tight deadlines, the constant scrutiny from diners. And then there's the competition within the kitchen itself. Everyone's trying to prove themselves and move up the ranks, which can sometimes create a pretty intense environment.
So it's not just the physical demands then, but the mental and emotional toll as well. I'm starting to see how working in this kind of environment, even if you're passionate about it, could really push someone to their limits.
Exactly. And that brings us to another really important aspect: mental health. The culinary industry, with its demanding work culture and high-pressure environments, can sometimes exacerbate existing mental health issues or even trigger new ones.
It's interesting you say that, because when I was reading about Rick Stein's reflections on his own mortality, I couldn't help but wonder about the mental and emotional well-being of the people who work for him. Not to say that there's anything specific going on within his organization, but it just got me thinking about how these pressures might affect someone who's maybe not as equipped to deal with them.
Yeah, it's a valid point, and it's something that's getting more attention within the industry now. There's been a growing movement to address mental health concerns, to create more supportive work environments, and to break the stigma around seeking help.
That's good to hear. So connecting this back to the young chef who passed away, obviously we don't know the specifics of his situation, but it does make you wonder what role these pressures might have played even indirectly.
It's impossible to speculate, of course, and we want to be respectful of his family and friends. But his passing does serve as a powerful reminder that the culinary world, like any profession, needs to prioritize the well-being of its people, alongside its pursuit of culinary excellence.
It's a wake-up call for sure. It makes you think about how we as consumers contribute to the culture of these industries. Do we sometimes have unrealistic expectations? Do we always appreciate the hard work that goes into those perfectly plated dishes?
That's a great question. I think it's worth reflecting on our own role in shaping these industries and how we can advocate for more sustainable and supportive practices.
It's definitely something to consider, especially given the tragedy that sparks this conversation. But on a more positive note, are there things that chefs and restaurant owners are doing to create a more supportive environment? What are some of the steps being taken to address these challenges?
There are definitely positive changes happening. Many chefs are starting to implement more humane work schedules, offering mental health resources and fostering a culture of open communication.
Well, that's really good to hear. It sounds like there's, a growing awareness of these issues, and people are actually trying to, make things better.
Oh, absolutely. There's a real push for a more sustainable model, one that values, both culinary excellence and the well-being of the people who create it.
Yeah, makes sense. If you want to create incredible food, you need a team that's happy and healthy and supported.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, demanding excellence without, sacrificing the human element.
Right. So going back to the story that started this conversation, the young chef who passed away, it's a tragic loss. And while we don't know the specifics of his situation, it does feel like a wake-up call for the industry.
It is, and it really highlights the need for, greater awareness, more open conversations, and a commitment to creating a work environment that supports the mental and emotional well-being of everyone involved.
It also makes me think about our own role as consumers. Maybe we need to be more mindful, more appreciative of the efforts that go into the experiences we enjoy.
I think that's a great takeaway. It's about recognizing the human cost of the things we love and being willing to advocate for change when necessary.
Yeah. It's a powerful reminder that behind every delicious meal, there are real people with their own stories, their own struggles, and their own dreams.
And that's something worth remembering whether you're a seasoned foodie or just someone who enjoys a good meal.
Absolutely. Food brings people together.
Mm.
But it's important to remember the hands that prepare it, the hearts that pour into it. This story, as sad as it is, has really given me a lot to think about.
Me too. And hopefully it'll spark some important conversations and lead to some positive changes within the culinary world and beyond.